Ciao Bambini, ciao Colin, what's up?
Hello, it's been a good week.
Oh yes?
Has it been a good week for you? It's been a good week for
Yeah,
me. Sorry. Let me talk about me for a
go for
minute.
it.
No, go. So, huge news. I've inherited a set of weights, which
Oh
is
really?
great because at the same time found a antique George Foreman grill. So I am about to re-kickstart my journey on becoming insufferable. So guys, look forward to it. Just on that Instagram page, just hit that up because it's going to be
Right, yeah.
disgusting.
I thought you had like a delay after the word antique there, and I thought you said and I found this antique picture of myself.
In the attic. We had to go up there for the plumbing because that's where it has a snow building door. What about your week? Was it good?
My week was very busy, but kind of good and weird. Like we went to that bougie wine festival, as you know, like immediately after last week's
Yes.
episode, which was great.
Oh,
Everyone in alcohol dresses the same, like straight boys in a collared shirt tucked into jeans with a waistcoat, and I want to have sex with all of them, even though they're solid sixes. But by the time you're like four wines or four whiskeys in, you're like,
once they get that that like velvet top hat on, it's just game over.
yeah. But anyway, so it was a indulgent weekend, and my parents are about to land on Goth Island in an hour, and I'm like, oh God, I need to get somewhere in there that quarterly fast. And I had this really busy day of 5 a.m. calls because I'm on other people's shows. And I'm like, I'm just going to. So I have fasted this week from Sunday evening, 9 p.m. to about 4 p.m. Thursday afternoon. And so I feel
Jeez.
great.
I mean, we've picked the correct card for this week. Then.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, we have other updates of previous cards. Do we want to do Clover to start with?
So I've been working on. I've been just doing quick turns on everything because I'm kind of in the zone for it now that we know kind of what the style's gonna look like. So just kind of hitting everything up and seeing and trying to bring everything into line. So yeah, go with the Clover
Yeah.
or start with the Clover.
Yeah, I've got it up on screen for people. It'll probably show up on yours in a minute.
So it's kind of just I've kind of just went in with that kind of tonal style.
Yeah.
It's not finished yet. I kind of really want to make that gold little effect like look really shiny. So there's a little bit more work to do, but I'm quite happy with where we're at with it.
Yeah, it looks really good.
And someone in the chat at the time was like, maybe there's a party on in the background. So there's just like that slight hint of just like quite kind of like almost like paparazzi flashes in the background,
Yeah.
just over the shoulder. That kind of wanted to get to just like
For me, it's
a
like
hot
destiny
night.
is calling. It's like destiny.
Yeah.
It's good because it is a magical charm. It's almost this sort of too Hollywood cinematic destiny is calling magic to it, and I like it. It's excellent. It's well done.
These about to hit the carpet. So a little bit more work on that. It's at a good place.
So Fred
Quite
in the
happy
chat's
with
like,
it.
I like the 2001 Space Odyssey lens flare. I like that too because remember this guy. No, like we had this whole thing about how he's on like a riverboat casino, but he's like a half elf or from like another dimension.
Yeah.
And so there is that like hint of eeriness that whoever's talking about solid sixes that I want to have sex with once I have a few drinks, like this is that kind of guy. Just definitely dressed better and from another dimension.
He's giving you ethereal, that's a tough
Ethereal
word to say.
realness
Ethereal
with
realness.
with a Glasgow accent. Not good.
So I'm gonna have to skip into Irish at some point tonight. Yeah, cool. So quite happy with it. Needs a little work. Yeah.
So do you think, I mean, gold is kind of like we're doing tone. We're not like restricting ourselves necessarily to a palette. Like talk us through. It's going to be like a mostly black white tonal shade situations, but we give us
That's
with
right.
red as the other because we're talking about it has to reference playing cards, but we're not restricting ourselves to that if we need to use other colors.
Yeah. There's other versions of this where the gold is red hues, and ultimately the full set of cards will have the same kind of layer applied, so that everything has this like a similar kind of, it reads similar in color. Um, it's gold just now. It looked quite good in red. The only issue was that with the 6 of diamonds, and then like as a red, like a metallic red tone.
We either want it in gold or we want it to be like an emerald, right? But I think it belongs in gold. I think.
Do you know what? I haven't tried it yet. It's
give it a
not
shot.
Huge. I think I shall. Yeah, because I will. But yeah, so I tried it in red, and it looks fine by itself. The charm, the pin, but with the diamond, it's a bit too much. Like too much red in the middle.
Yeah, it is the unholy marriage of Tina Burner and Ellie Diamond. Speaking of,
yeah. Hey, there we go. We hit our target.
Exactly. Once an episode. People don't realize that we just literally spent, instead of preparing for the show, the 15 minutes beforehand, just dissecting the the finale and our feels about it. But cool. If we go
RuPaul's performance, which we shall henceforth refer to as brave.
Brave. Yeah, an interpretation of yeah. I mean, again, at least she did it, and you're probably right. It would have had something to do with Utica trying to get her to stand up and realize that, like news presenters in the 80s,
kind of a genius callback. I will give her that.
It was like when she's sitting at that desk, it's Rue at the top and Paul underneath. It's what's going on.
Someone I know commented on the choice on shoes, and I was like, well, and this person is a drag queen, and I was like, okay. That is a fair point, because she naturally is about 18 feet tall anyway. She is actually an ent.
Yeah, that's true. She's one of her own oil rigs. When she checks her oil rigs, it's like eye to eye.
If you don't frack yourself, how in the hell are you going to frack anyone else?
All right, so that's Clover, and thanks for that, because again, it's the one that's closest to completion, so we actually start to feel the cinematic universe in it, and I think it's on target for what it was we were looking for. Now
we're getting warmer.
Now your favorite card.
Here we go.
Shall we go to the House of Colin? I love it. I love this change of direction, but talk us through it.
Yeah, so I was just sick of what I was doing. And it's all good suggestions and everything. Like I could see it, what we were talking about, what you were suggesting. I could see it. I was like, this is going to be great. And I just was not doing it. So I just like randomly did this. I pulled a few references together, and I was like, okay, here we are. Let's see. And I said to you, like, listen, there you go. That's what I've been doing, and that's what I'm thinking about. And you reacted positively. So
very positively. So like,
I'll take my W's where I get them.
Like the brief was like, it needs to be a house in the Sacred Valley. It needs to be, if you put Rivendell in Peru's Sacred Valley, is what I was going for, and that is actually it. And then we kind of maybe got a bit too conceptual about let's do it as let's have like that DK guide inspiration sort of thing, because that's been very exciting to us. But it turns out that wasn't right. Like if we just go back to the feel of the card. This is a place I would like to live, but it also has that home as sanctuary feel. If you're arriving at this is a 7-star ayahuasca retreat run by a former celebrity. Like this is when you get here, you're paying for it, but the sort of people who go to this, money is not an issue, and it's just I am relaxed. The closest you're going to get to like Elrond healing you is this private ayahuasca retreat in the Sacred Valley, right? And I wish to live there.
So Anita, that is literally just did it, jotted it down, maybe 10 minutes, and I was between doing other things, and I was just like, there we go. So I kind of still want to put elements of what we've talked about into it. But we're going in the right direction. Now we've broken through the ice of whatever this is.
And if you get up into the further up river in the Urubamba, like the hills are actually really quite steep in that exciting kind of
Yeah.
Peruvian Andes way. And I think that belongs in the card. You can see that with the
Well-
lines coming off it. I don't think we need the rolling hills and fields. I actually really like the idea that it's sort of,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's actually, so when it's actually not mountains, that is like a chimney with like a smoke line coming out
Oh,
of it.
it's a stink
But then
line.
but when I sent it to you, I was like, that kind of looks like how the mountains look in that sort of region. I'm like, that kind of looks good. So I was fluke of nature. So yeah, but like now I can see like now I would see how I would do like the mountains behind it.
Yeah.
And the style that would be doing other things. So
just-
I'm in the zone for that.
Like Imladris literally means hidden valley in Elvish.
Yeah.
So I like, there's two things, and obviously I'll correct it because there's like a permaculture angle I can go at, which is we don't want it to look like it floods regularly. So it can't, so like the hills, so it can't be like it can't take up the entire riverbank because that'll be like, well, that house isn't very stable. It's going to wash away.
Right. Okay.
But we do want like,
It's there.
yeah, so we do want it to be on the like river flats with steep hills behind it. But it looks amazing. I'm actually really happy with it.
It will get. I am confident that it will get to where I need it to be because it's become. I mean, we were talking about how this has become an oddly difficult card. I believe this card is actually now reading me for filth. So we need. And I refuse to be beaten by a card. It just is not going to happen. So we'll get to the bottom of this.
Well, yeah.
eventually.
Well, it might happen now, but you're about to be working on your guns, you know.
Well, true. Yes. I mean, come on now.
All right. Anything else to say about house before we move to tree?
I know I'm pretty happy with the direction we're going in with it, and I feel like now that it's kind of we've taken out the kind of drone shot angle and the kind of isometric thing, which I did enjoy. I feel like I'm kind of in a better position to kind of do like a little storytelling scene for it. So we'll do that.
The isometric thing can come back, right? We may want it for the garden / the cruise.
Yeah, because I did enjoy drawing it, like, and doing the process of working back. Like, this is like back in the old dark days of like me to go into uni. Like, I did enjoy the actual drawing process. I just couldn't. I think when you're looking at an isometric, when you're looking at that kind of view, it doesn't feel like. It kind of feels impersonal.
Yeah, that's it, isn't
I mean?
it?
So
and this card of all of them needs to be, if it's Rivendell,
it's the most, it's personal. It's an experience. So yeah.
Oh, nice one. All right, well,
onwards
onto the tree. And you only sent me one, but I think that for people who are just watching this but aren't in the Telegram chat, which they should be, there's been like this one has had the group treatment in there over the week. So it's funny, when I looked at this, I thought, if the tree was a little bit further back, you could have like a cock destroyer in leotards and high heels walking gingerly in front of it.
Sheena the jungle queen or whatever, like, was the old thing. That is the technical fuck up this week, is that I forgot to send through the sketches for like the sketch process of it. But yeah, this is one that's in a kind of, I know where I'm going with it, and I'm quite happy with it. And I sent an example to you as well.
So let's do my least favorite part of the show. Do we want to jump over, or do you want to tell us about this? Because we have like where you're going with it as an example on the Pinterest board. Should we go there now?
Yes.
All right. Let me just move various things around. All right. So back on the Pinterest board, obviously we're doing clouds today when we get to it, so you can see that bit. Oh, I couldn't see the tree card. Did you upload the tree example?
Hold on a sec.
Let me just refresh. Maybe it was because I haven't refreshed it.
I did.
111 pins. So
yeah, it's there for me. 100.
Cool.
Yeah, should be there.
Oh, there we go.
The most evil app in history.
Well, it's just like the back button doesn't take you back. What do you want? All right, so so here we are. We are. Talk us through. This is what you want it to look like, right?
So yeah, this is Daddy Mike Minola. This is from Hellboy and Hell. Um, and I really like, so for color and for kind of the sort of style of it, this is really where I want to go with the tree. Obviously, we have a different view of the tree, because we wanted to get like the thickness of the trunk, and there was all this discussion about that. So this is kind of like this is like the mood I would like to kind of replicate for it. This is like the world, and the comics, this is the world tree. This is like the Norse world tree. Um, or like whatever it is they do. Like he's psychotic, and is like how he like like sort of works folklore into his stories. So yeah, I would really like to kind of, I like the idea of the trunk having a solid color that disappears into like the like sort of the light of like the canopy at the top.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
It's on my vision board for how this is going to end up.
cool. So we'll go back to
But
the
yeah,
tree so people can kind of see that that's where, obviously that one is in sort of like greens and whatever, as you said. But
yeah.
I get it. I totally see it. And I think that's the right way of doing it. I actually quite like, I can already see the inspiration in the sort of jungle canopy behind. Those ruins probably need to be more ruined as well.
Yeah, it's a bit too a bit too
Like it
full,
looks nice.
fully functioning. Yeah, this is just the kind of beginning of the painting process. So
But it
it's
looks,
also like,
go on.
like would we be open to like playing with this? Like we want thickness of the trunk and like strength and all this.
Yeah,
Would we be
definitely.
open to like the scale of it so that there's more of the tree visible, but it would be thinner, but you
Yeah,
would,
definitly.
do you know what I mean? It would
Yeah,
look
yeah.
bigger because there's a tinier
More like the
like
mic.
temple.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because that's growing out, like it's growing out of some college, it's growing out of something in London or in the comic, or England. So yeah, it's one of those ones I think that I know I know where it's going, but it's also going in like four different directions that would be equally well executed if we followed through on them.
No, I
I
think,
like the kids playing around on the roots of the tree. Like I think that, like I enjoy the kind of, because that's playing with the scale again. Um, and people were talking about things like Princess Mononoke and all this kind of like tree spirits and stuff, which is
it has
quite
that energy.
fantastical.
Yeah.
There's the light kind of thing that's happening here is just very basic just now, but I would like a kind of like with the ship card where there's like a scent of, like again, ethereal kind of realness. Just where it's not like it's not too thematic, it's not too kind of um it doesn't take you out of the card. It doesn't so if this comes on the table, you don't want to think, oh, pretty. Like you want it to kind of just be tree, and that's
Yeah.
that's what you're seeing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So not too showy. That's a terrible way of
Not too showy
describing
for a
it.
giant
Listen, I want
sacred
to make
tree growing out of a lost city.
no, yeah, and I don't want it to have any impact on anyone. uh, but yeah, I know I'm kind of really comfortable with this one, so it will be played around with and kind of brought into line with the ship card and the Clover card. And also, I think this week I will go back to the Rider and get her slash him slash
They,
them
yeah.
back into this kind of tonality that we've been working with. So that will be a fun thing to show next week.
Very good, very good. As you say, like this is card 6 that we're doing this week, and there's 36 in the whole deck, so it's a moment, right? And it'll be kind of good to have a couple of them available as sort of the end of the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 2 references, but
She's forming nicely, I will say. Like I kind of at the beginning I was like, right, each card is its own thing. And then you put your little like designer brain onto that, and it's like shit. Okay, but it kind of has to all look the same, but you don't want it to look the same because that is a terrible string of words that you would be promoting to people. So I think there is the universe is kind of, it's congeal. So just don't let me describe things. The universe is congealing in these cards, okay, guys. Like a fried cheese toasty.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
congealing.
No, I'll do the words. You do the pictures.
Yeah, you just put me on mute. I'm done for the day. It's okay. It's like
Uh,
12:30 here.
I'm very excited for it. I think it's and I love that obviously because red we've got like the black to white tones and then red, and maybe it ends up being the other thing we do is like silver and gold similarly. We'll find out. See what happens with the emerald. But that red, because the tree is health and chuchuasi is a kind of red brown anyway. It's what I've always wanted in a tree card. Yeah.
Another fun fact is there's literally no reference for this this like healing tree. There's a few great stories about it, but it's just like there's even like YouTube videos of people kind of walking around in the forest and they're just like looking at the kind of young versions of the tree, and I'm just like, okay, great for you guys. Love conversation or conservation. But I'm going to need to see the top of this bitch. Like,
I need wood. Like. I need big
wood. I need to see what the fucking leaves are. Like, not that I do. It's one of those, like, just when you do the research element of these, you just really want to see all the details. It's like with the water wheel in the house. Like, I don't really need to know how it works, but I would like to know how it works. I like to see what I'm not drawing. I like to see what's underneath all of that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I like that it was a challenge visually because it's a big part of my journey. So a rune soup Lenormand needs to be chuchuasi, and it needs to be that kind of hipster douchebag, like, well, if you haven't heard of it.
You just don't. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But I like the kind of, there's a light. So when we began talking about this deck, we were doing like, there was pirate references and stuff, and it is kind of just becoming kind of just an adventurer's deck. So it's like the theme, there's inspirations, but there is kind of a light theme that's just like, this is an adventurer's deck, which kind of is very suitable to what the Lenormand is for. So it's kind of, I'm kind of getting my like Indiana Jones vibe life out of it.
That's where, the Lara Croft.
And each card,
the Invisibles.
We're like exploring a new thing. The Invisibles,
That's where it's going. Like that's what we wanted. Justin must be new in the chat. What's the difference between Tarot and Lenormand? If you go back, Colin was on the show when we began this, I guess 6 weeks ago, because we're at card 6. That'll make sense if you watch the Lenormand episode. I've done a few podcasts about it, and that will be your way in, our season 1, if you will. And that's another drag reference for people who've seen how absolutely like public access TV budget season 1.
There's a lot of you want to talk about lens flares, like there was just this white light.
Yeah, some of it was shot on the first iPhone. Like,
I was on an iPod. I don't know what I was doing. Refused to look back at it, and that's how life is lived.
Absolutely. Well, funny you mentioned that, because that kind of maybe brings us neatly, and I have to go back to my favorite website. Give me a second. I just got to move some stuff around. We go back to Pinterest and give me the 40 to 60 minutes needed to return to the board. Oh, got it in one. Except now it has to reload. This time it wasn't my fault. So far, neither of us have fucked up, although you have stumbled over some words.
Yes, it's lesson again. This time of night, the accent, because it's transitioning from Scottish to Irish. We will end on American, so it's a process.
Very good. So actually, maybe I'm going to come back to Maine so they can see our lovely faces, because I want to talk about the significations and meanings of the cloud card to begin with. Right now, I don't think it should be called cloud. I think it's dumb. I don't think they're without, because the signification traditionally is confusion or inability to see. That's not cloud, that's fog. Unless there were a lot of airline pilots going to see 18th century fortune tellers, it's dumb. And I think it's dumb for people subsequently, because again, as we all know, everyone except Justin, who is new, that the Lenormand deck emerged from a coffee ground and tea leaf reading fortune telling tradition. So that, like, cloud in that sense would have been fog or mist, right? So you kind of get how it became the cloud as a card, but it's not a cloud. It's fog or mist or something. If it's supposed to be like the ask again later of Lenormand. It's like, this is confusing. So depending on, because it's a relational language, depending on if you, obviously you got it near letter or rider, it would be like confusing message or lost in the mail, something like that. So that's not quite cloud because not that many people are pilots. And so I kind of had this thing of, well, oh, and I'll remind me when you do the inset why I think we're on the right track. So I'm like, well, how can it be cloud and also fog or mist, which is actually a different thing? But how can clouds conceal roads and literally roads in that direction? So we've been talking this week about it being a cloud inversion, right? And there's a couple of them in particular, and we'll go through them again. Bear with, as this takes the 40 to 60 minutes that Pinterest. Wrong window. That Pinterest appears to require. We'll start with. We'll end on the one I like the best, but we will go with. So here, I'm just going to zoom in rather than click on it because that's one of the things that messes me up. This one has a road along a hill, and you can see the cloud inversion in the valley. Now, I quite like that. So the trick with having the cloud card be a cloud inversion is we don't want it to look like the mountain card, which is a bit challenging because you have to be above the clouds for it to be an inversion, right? And so we'll sort of get to how I solved that. But like as we go through, well, I solved it, like we haven't done the card yet. But as we go through these, there's a couple of them. This is the one that I think is closest. Opening this one up. Right. So, and there's actually not that many pictures of cloud inversions as the one we've got, right? And here you can see trees and like hill stuff peeking out above it. And in my head, what I was talking about with Colin, and we'll see what the chat thinks and what Colin thinks, is it's something like this, maybe not with, although those are hills in the background rather than mountains, right? But we'd bring them down a bit. What I'd like to see is potentially like a town, so like the steeple of a church, or like a tower, or the top of, because you've done a water wheel, you can do a windmill now. Like the top of things, yeah, the top of things like that, which shows that in the valley that is underneath the cloud inversion is life. There are roads going to towns and so on, because the whole point of the card is I can't see the road forward, right? And how do we get that in an easy way? And so my thoughts are an inversion from like a low hilltop where you can plainly see that there's stuff. And unfortunately, that's more a landscape story than the vertical one of a card. So what's good and bad about my zany scheme, Colin?
Scotland is fine. I'm actually going to go with that from now on. I think that kind of works. Like, so because we don't we don't want everything to look the same. So not everything has to be like a full scene. So if it's just like, obviously there'll be like details in the foreground that would fade out and stuff, like mountains or hills or whatever. But it could still be a relatively flat plane just with the clouds and then things peeking out. I already have an insanely 90s kid reference just when you said that about steeples popping up, which I will not disclose at this time because
it reveals your true age.
I will immediately be sacked.
Oh,
no, I wouldn't be sacked. It's very calm. It's hocus pocus. Okay, I'm not gonna
lie. Oh, right, yeah, fair enough.
Right, so there's like town shots where like there are like mists like rolling over the town and stuff, and it's very that was back when they actually put in effort to paint like cinematic backgrounds and stuff. So I can definitely see it. I can see it working in a kind of very sort of limited space on the card, but there maybe can be other options as well. So it's not something that's like I wouldn't think is uninteresting, because it's all about kind of that misty kind of confusion and stuff. Yeah. So this is going to be one of those ones where just like space in the card might be useful.
Cool. All right.
So
So
yeah,
one of the things that I like, and people are talking about it in the chat, the reason I showed the road card to begin with is that we'll see how we go, but there are a couple of foreground elements. Obviously, a road that's sort of heading down the hill with the implication that it will appear in the valley that has the inversion in it makes it clear what the card is about. And I like the tree that's in the bottom right of this low res image, but let me give you another one because if it turns out, because this is landscape and we're dealing with portrait more or less, if you make this card have a baby, or this image have a baby with the previous one, that's a watchtower. So it's kind of Lord of the Ringsy again, right? But it's sort of like I'm trying to see something and I can't see. So because we need to pull out more, because it's vertical rather than horizontal, right? Portrait rather than landscape. So if we need, funnily enough, more of that like isometric or drone perspective, which means we need something bigger than a tree or a bit of road in the foreground, I would like to table... again, can't be too towery because there's literally a tower card.
yeah.
But in the same way, there's literally a mountain card. If there's sort of a promontory that's plainly for looking and you can't see anything, because I actually came to this idea backwards when there's a lookout at the top of Kunanyi, which we know from the ship card as the sacred mountain around which Hobart is built or nestled.
Famously.
Yeah, famously. Now everyone knows that. And on a clear day, the view up there is amazing. On a cloud inversion day, it's differently amazing, and low key annoying if you want to get up there and say, look, there's the farm, or look, there's Bruni Island, or whatever. And the sort of double combination is if there's an inversion or the top of the hill is in the fucking cloud, so you get into the viewing center. And this happened to me in Stodonia too. This happened at the top of Mount Snowdon. We spent all that time in this uncomfortable funicular talking to pensioners. And we got to the top and we couldn't even see the visitor center from the funicular. And then we get in the visitor center, we go, this is like a green screen. This is like nothing in front of me. And that's where the idea, when I was the first time that happened to me at Kunanyi, I'm like, oh, there's like the cloud card from Lenormand. So that's for me where the idea was. But I'm trying to marry the original association of cloud with the actual original association, which I think is moss and mist and that kind of stuff. And obviously I wanted to do like, well, let's do a sea fog. And I'm like, stop. We're on land now. Stop with the ships.
We're going at land.
Nathan had one. Again, the cards are too small, but maybe we can wink at it somewhere. I really like the idea of like obscured lighted windows shining through the fog, because this card needs to be early morning. So definitely no stars or anything. You're not traveling at night. One, that's when you get the inversions to start with. But two, that's when you set out on journeys. So if it's like, oh, cool, I'm going to go, I can't see where I'm going. Like that's what the card kind of means, I think.
It sounds like, yeah, this is the card where it's like, okay, I'm going to be late to work by about 20 minutes today because we're traveling at 10 miles an hour because there is literal, a thick wall in front of us at all times. We literally don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
It's one of those cards like each time we get to a card where I'm kind of potentially like, well, I mean, I guess this is going to be a little dull because it's just like, it's going to be a couple of lines or whatever, and then you come up with like a really cool idea and I'm like, oh, okay, shit, I'm actually gonna have to do something this week. Like, so yeah, this is an interesting idea to me, and I can see like, again, a couple of 2 or 3 sort of variants of how we can go there, and that will be, I think it'll be something interesting to, again, it's that negative space thing of imbalance in the card. So it's one of those ones where I have to like pop my designer head on and not make something terribly, terribly ugly.
Yeah. So the next image, back to the Pinterest board, just on that note, negative space and filling out. If you kind of look at this, which is, again, as you do with landscape pictures, the clue is in the name. This is landscape rather than portrait. Because you will, I think, have a lot of nothing in around the inset, which we'll get to in a minute. a good way of doing it is to actually have clouds in the sky of the cloud card, even though it's plainly about the inversion, right? And I quite like the layering of it here. So we're only going to be using for like the main stuff, the bottom 40% of the card, as far as I can tell, because otherwise, well, it depends on what angle you fly the drone in at, right? But that's going to leave us all this other space. And the thing you don't want on the cloud card is a clear sky. That's literally not what it is. So if you look at this one, I think there's a lot of interest and drama in the layering of the clouds. And it almost means like you've sort of done like an and I don't do this because I don't do Instagram, because I was about to say I'm not that kind of millennial. Maybe I am. Anyway, the point is, this is like a vertical Instagram. Like, do you know what I mean? Like a vertical Instagram when it's some Christian girl, autumn girl standing on a rock looking out. That ubiquitous shot that everyone does, right? Looking out over like a little lake in the mountains, and there's a lot of sky consequently, because it's vertical, because it's for the gram. If this is our sky for the gram on the cloud card, that makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me, don't worry. Because this is like, because that example of that girl on the rock is like, she's like, you know, she's like, to the future, like she's looking out, she's like, you know, like, and it's always accompanied with like an 18,000 word screed of, you know, things might look a bit dicey now, but you know, there's things in the future, and this is like this is the Instagram card. This is like
and it is that, because I just want her to jump.
Like,
I want the 100 million people who have taken that image to jump. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Johan or Joan has a really good idea. A bridge somewhere in the mist will make it apparent that there's a road underneath the inversion. So as an element in as part of the human elements in the inversion, that's worth playing with. That's a really cool idea.
So we're talking about like a town sort of peeking up. So there could be like all these different elements.
Yeah. If it's not a town, though, like it needs to be a town in terms of it being the destination, because actually it's a road, but it's a road through inhabited areas. So that's why if it's a church steeple and a windmill and like the top of a bridge, what you're seeing there from the Instagram girl spot is, I can't see what's going to happen on this journey. Like that's what the cloud card actually is, right? So it might be a town, it might be however that goes, but the town would have to be the destination. You're not looking over.
Yeah, so in the distance.
Yeah, you're not looking over, because there's obviously loads of like London fog and whatever, or like the cheese grater and other things. You can get these quite good inversions of things like London fog, but that's not. It's not wrong exactly, but it's not the energy of the card as it typically shows up.
Because with London fog, you're already there.
The
destination.
Yeah, you're
already made it to the big city, kid. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and it's also like it's not cloud enough. That's literally fog. So I'm trying to like thread the needle between what I experience the card as when I do readings, but also where I think it came from in that tea leaf coffee ground world.
What about the inset? What are we on the?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, because this comes to inversion fog on road in particular, or mist or whatever, because this card is the asshole, right? So like the King of Clubs is the brigand. This is why for me I experience it as, I can't see the journey and it might not be very good, because that's like that's the card of the bad guy, right? Guy with a club.
So this is the opposite of our last king, who was like the King of Hearts on the house.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's like the good guy, and this is like his shitty brother.
Yeah. And it's not a calculating. It's not a calculating bad guy either, because that's like King of Diamonds. I was about to say King of Swords, which is also true, but like depending on what deck you're using. But like King of Clubs is the brute, right? So it's a brigand. It's force and effort, which is why it's interesting that it's on like a card of water suspended in air. Like why it's like the card is as ephemeral as the inset isn't. So how does it? What are those two things? And it's a brigand hiding in the mist to assault you on the way to work, right? That's that's how I got from Cloud to Mr. Fog to Inversion when I do these as a reading. So that's the inset. So again, you're in Inset Town, although people were saying in the chat that they liked going back to the house, which I'm happy to do because I like looking at the house. Because remember, you've just kind of, for people who maybe like Justin, if this is your first episode, these are just thrown in insets you found, but people like this one I think better. I mean, I know you did the skull one, but we're not going to do skull. We're going to do something.
Yeah, that's just like a fish. Don't worry about it, guys.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Hocus Pocus. I figured that was we'd have to wait for the book for that to come up, but like that was definitely going to come up.
Oh geez! Oh, don't. That's right. Oh my god.
That's another one.
And I'll probably wait. What number is the book? It might be October by the time that one comes up.
True.
I'm not sure.
True. Nice one. All right. What else do we need to talk about? We did the inset. So the inset is the asshole or the brigand. It is also like a captain of industry. So it can be, depending on the context, it can be pollution. Like it literally can be.
Yeah. Oh, okay. He's like a Captain Planet villain.
Like, yeah. Because it's clouds. Yeah. So it's like billows of smoke and so on. So that's just for people. If you get if you buy the 36 premium decks, we don't buy all 36 of them, but if you buy one of the 36 premium decks, you'll be in the course where we go through all these significations once we actually have this deck that we're making. Awesome. Or that frustration of something you can't hit, you can't club fog effectively. That's cool. I like that. That's from Chantel in the chat. That's really cool.
Nice. Punching air.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So anything else to say about the inset or clouds?
Okay. So no, I think this is another one where it's you've given me enough that I have a solid image of it and we can work through that. So that'll be a good week of getting that shit together. And when it's this kind of foregone conclusion of a card, it kind of means that I can work on the other ones on the side and kind of bring it all in together. And that is of the 6 weeks so far, or 5 weeks so far. That's kind of the better week because it just feels like everything's kind of moving along to a point that's a point of completion, which is, that sounds so disgusting. A point of completion.
Well, no, but also like we got to get some finished ones out there so that we can put the deck in the stores and be like, hey, buy these exact cards because they're finished.
10 is in my head. 10 is like the number where I want to have 10 really fucking solid cards. You know what you're getting. This is what it is, and it looks tight. It looks amazing, and people are looking at it and thinking, oh, okay, let's put the money down on that one. Let's do it. Because by that point, we're really, I would expect myself to be in the groove of it. So yeah, as the weeks trundle along, I'm getting a better idea of what we're doing and how we're going to execute this as a deck, as a total object, which is quite interesting.
Absolutely. So what's your song?
Oh, Jesus. Am I going first?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Cloud, the song for this is I was talking to you earlier, I was like, this is, you kind of, if you want, you get into kind of very angsty kind of songs, because it's all very, we're confused, we don't know what we're doing, it's very lovelorn. So it's not very specific to the card, and then I did the thing of panicking and just going through every fucking album that I listened to when I was like maybe 18, 19, 20. Maybe not even that. So my song is...
I can say something so mean there, but anyway, carry on. So the music you listen to at 18, 19, 20, what, like Tears for Fears?
No. It was like some sort of war. No. No, maybe like, I don't know when this came out. It was a long time ago. Gwen Stefani, What You Waiting For? Because it's a song about confusion, but it's also, so I don't want to get too negative about it, like, oh, we don't know where we're going, because I like the card is useful, but I wanted like a positive spin on it, like, bitch, you've got this. take a chance, you stupid hole. Like, just do it. Like, literally a lyric of the song, and it's a ridiculous video. And it was back before, I believe the whole era has been cancelled because it's problematic. But my little gay ass was living for that shit back in the day. It was like when she had like the Harajuku girls and stuff. Just ropey old shit. Yeah, but loved it. And it's a real go get. Like, it's like, okay, shit, you are confused about what you're doing. You're uncertain. You're maybe not as confident in where to go from here, but you're gonna fucking do it because guess what? You've already left the house to go to work, so there you go.
I like it.
What about you?
No, I went because we were talking about it, like that era and sort of 90s songstress, Portishead, Massive Attack, that sort of ethereal thing. And so I thought I shall go to the queen of that. And mine is Björk Cosmogony.
Right, okay. I did look into Björk and then I could not find, like, I love a bit of Björk and I could not find okay, go for it.
Cosmogony. But it's the feel. It is the confusion. It's also like she feels like clouds, like cold, but good cold, like icy in the air kind of stuff, like Iceland, all that kind of shit, right?
Yeah, she has that Icelandic nature.
Yeah, it is clouds. That's it perfectly. But Cosmogony has some of the lines and basically just the rhythm of it, because obviously she's a very felt performer. And so for me, of the songs that I didn't have a chance to, although it would be a great evening, I didn't have a chance to go through the whole over in case there's something outside of the classics in like the 90s of hers. But Cosmogony captures the cloud feel, I think, best out of the Björk songs that immediately came to mind, because everyone loves a bit of Björk, and if not, jail.
yeah, she's generally like excellent at whatever she's doing. And she may well feature again. Who knows? Like,
well, that's why you gotta. Yeah, it's the same thing with Massive Attack.
One of those girls.
Yeah, same thing with Massive Attack. You gotta keep your like songstresses. You got to know when to use them.
Yeah, like play your cards right, and you got to play your cards right.
Yeah, I was about to say I nailed Dolly. It's a better way of saying that. I nailed Dolly, but like Dolly landed on the exact card she was supposed to. But like I've still got Nicki Minaj.
She's in there. She's in the wings, waiting to happen. Did you have any other choices for this card?
No, I went in my head through Portishead and Massive Attack and all of that kind of feel. Even some Alanis, like, because I listened to all of that at the one time.
Mate, honestly, absolutely. See, I was like, in my head, I was like, she has exactly the song for this, surely. And then I went through kind of like the debut album and all that, and I was like, oh no,
Jagged Little Pill. Yeah, it's not. But maybe it's because as a kid I was confused. I was on the cloud card at the time.
I even veered into Garbage. I was like, let's like, but today was pretty much just, I just went back to like post puberty. It was a very, very slimy day for me.
But that is the sort of mid-90s songstress era is correct for the card one way or the other. Mid-90s to the end of the millennium. Maybe not the complete end, because realistically the end of it is the Spice Girls, which is not this energy.
Well, just you wait, Gordon.
But no, I'm pretty happy with mine. I think I win this week. I think Cosmogony.
That's a good one.
I like your angle. I like it's like, well, you got the cloud card, but fuck it. You got to go to work anyway.
Yeah, you gotta fucking, girls gotta work, okay?
Fred has Wanderlust is another good Björk one for this. I think Cosmogony is better, but Wanderlust was on my shortlist. Nice.
And we will, after this, be posting just a full set of Björk songs for everyone's enjoyment.
Justin and anyone else who's new, there is not just the Telegram group, because we're getting to the end of the show. The Telegram group you should join. We also have a Spotify playlist for songs for the cards. And you know what I was thinking today? Because obviously in the premium pack and the main pack, which is the deck and the book, there's going to be pages for each of the cards. I think we're going to put the songs on every card. Like, why not? In the sort of traditional meaning. Like, so when you open up to find the traditional meaning for clouds, it's going to be
and to have some of my suggestions printed forever will be very interesting.
To be like
So
pointed at
great.
in a court of law. Yeah.
Here's where it all went wrong. Cool, awesome. So next week we have a I think it's a good card next week. I'm quite excited about this one as well. Just because it's a sexy card. I like it. I like when cards are like sexy. So I'm looking forward to this one as well. Thinking about because you obviously will be thinking about it the way I do. Like you're working on one thing and it's kind of like Madame Lenormand's eyes themselves. Just one is coming and one is going. Just a boss. We're just boss eyeing this entire project.
Yeah, definitely. In her case, it was looking for unattended purses she could lift. In my case too, I guess.
She was very sharp.
Absolutely. Well, team, once again, like good suggestions, and not just music suggestions. Like I think the bridge is the winner in terms of suggestions this week. But yeah, real cool stuff. Anything else you want to say before we finish this one up?
Sure. Follow me on Instagram at Colin Alexander Draws for potentially the third post that I will ever post at some point. But I post some stories and stuff, and we kind of get into fun sketching now that things are kind of the project is kind of balancing out. I'm like, oh, today I did a bit of sketching just for me. So yeah, follow me there.
I thought you were going to say it's because it's about to turn into like a Muscle Mary Graham.
That too, obviously. Guys, if you ever heard of a 12-pack, because it's about to happen. By the way, cut to next week, and I have 2 broken hands because I have no idea how to lift a weight.
All right. Well, look forward to that. And of course, everyone, the Telegram group and fortunesfools.runesoup.com has all the extra information, any of that stuff. Again, we do a lot of good work during the week. So join us in the chat. And see you, sir, next week.
We will once again have some drag race to discuss, and it's on your home turf. So is it next week? We'll maybe have some introduction to the queens or something.
Yeah, that's because I have honestly blocked from my mind the fact that because it's not going to be good.
Well, you say this, Gordon, right? I expected UK Drag Race to be a hot sack of shit.
It's true, and that was good.
The lowest expectation, and it turned out to be pretty good. So maybe it's just
I hope it's that
internalized.
It's supposed to be the Australian one. They shot most of it in New Zealand.
That's right.
There's a lot of things that are structurally terrible about it.
And Courtney Act is fully barred from any drag productions, so she's not going to pop up anywhere.
It's funny when we started the project, because we started it a few weeks later than we expected, although that was the right decision because there was too much going on in January anyway for us both. But I was sort of low-key not concerned, but I'm like, it would have been good if it aligned enough with Drag Race so that we could annoy the people who actually watch it and don't watch Drag Race with why do you have to fucking comment? What is Madame Lenormand's best friends race at the beginning of each episode? But
because drag is very similar to fortune telling. I hate to tell everybody, but you really just need to look at these things.
But I guess we will have something to talk about at least to the halfway point, for better and for worse. On that note, I shall see you next week.